What is up, Roto-Grinders? Happy Friday. Right now, the start of 2 hours, 2+ hours of nonstop MLB DFS conversation. Our apologies. Slight hiccup as far as being a couple minutes late. We are waiting for Chopper. Chopper knocking on the door. He'll be coming in shortly. He did his mic check and everything in the chat, and still yet no Chop, but he should be in here shortly. Filling in, multitasking will be TJ. TJ's Warriors. You guys know TJ. One of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. I know TJ takes umbrage with one of the greatest, but I still think that's somewhat flattering. If you said, like, I was one of the greatest at anything, and from the big state of Florida, like, sure, well, why not? I would take it. But TJ working a little bit of double duty as well as Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel, you guys know Squirrel. He's won $1 million. He's been a live finalist, I believe, 100+ times now, which is a completely absurd statement to say. And also, it is Friday, which means it's Free Friday. I went ahead and dropped this in chat for the people. If you want to go ahead, if you're playing some MMA this weekend, his premium article is free. That is our freebie for today. I dropped it. I said, hey, we're a couple minutes late. By all means, read this at your own leisure. All right. We should have Chop coming in shortly. How are things, Squirrel? Everything good in your world? You also dropped the Kevin Roth was trying to name. I don't know if you saw he was trying to name your article or give it a different spin on it in our private Discord. The some kind of nuts as far as baseball. That article's out there as well.
I do. Yeah, I have two different kinds of branding for my articles. One is the takedowns for UFC, which is just a UFC thing because like takedowns make sense. But we're taking down a GPP too, right? And then there's the squirrel's nuts. That's for football and baseball, and basketball, I guess.
I did ask TJ pre-show. I asked him about Deadpool. Of course, no spoilers. We live in a society, but several people in chat, TJ, they're saying, kind of disappointed about the movie. And I asked you, and typically, I don't want to say you're a homer, but you're rooting for the movie to be good. You want it to be good, and you said it was good, but you didn't say it with the typical vigor and excitement that you might say. Maybe because your level of anticipation was too good, too strong.
Expectations were just sky high, but it's 50-50 in the chat. We have one person saying it's disappointing, one person saying they saw it last night and it was awesome. Okay. J3 is seeing it tonight. I think so. It was the best Deadpool movie yet. It was absolutely hilarious. The action was top tier, and like by far the best Deadpool movie yet. The addition of Wolverine is just fantastic. The story is pretty lackluster. But you're not going to a Deadpool movie for the story. It's like you're not going to a John Wick movie for the story. You're going for it's really funny and the action is really good. So it was awesome. Don't worry, Stephen Smith. I'm not going to spoil it. I do this for a job. I know how to keep it spoiler free. The one thing I'll say in terms of I'll say to J3 specifically is there is a joke that I think he will particularly enjoy because it's a shout out to me specifically, you could say, and so I'm excited for J3 to see that one.
A shout out to Saskatoon, I'm assuming, is that what it is?
I'm not gonna say because we're keeping it spoiler free here, Dean. How's it going, Chop? Welcome back. We're still not gonna. Maybe he's not back yet. He's but
not here.
We'll see.
Can you hear me?
He's here. We can hear him.
Hear you, Chopper.
Can you hear us?
I can. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see you.
It's fucking ridiculous, man.
Chop, we are live and you are flustered.
Yeah,
welcome to the
we
show.
Are on air.
Dog shit.
Any other thoughts on your computer? You want
it's not even the computer. It's Windows 11, man. It's Windows 11.
Oh, did TJ just mute Chop? Is that what's happening here? I'm not sure what's going on. Chop
I meant to take out myself.
All right. I wasn't sure if you're putting Chop in the corner, like putting him in the corner for a minute or so.
Right.
Yeah, welcome, right. Chop. We good to go?
Well, I restarted and everything, and I finally figured out the problem. So we can go, but I'm going to be opening up some tabs while you're talking, Dean. So go ahead and start off with Squirrel.
All right. Is your mouse good to go? Is that still an issue, or has that been solved at least?
It's been solved. I think it was just a Microsoft thing, kind of like that whole, crowdsource thing that happened. I think it was a Microsoft issue.
All right, let's go ahead and talk to Squirrel as far as the slate. It is a big boy slate, so we should just go ahead and dive on in. 12 gamer.
We're really live?
Yeah, Chop. I
thought we were behind this. Well, you guys could have warned me. I could have said something.
I told you. I said
I thought you were joking. I seen TJ in here goofing around when I came in. Oh my gosh. Now we're really.
I thought I made it clear in the
I could have said
least subtle way that we
terrible
are.
about one of our bosses, man, and you would have just let me go on about it.
We lost our Microsoft sponsorship, by the way.
Crowdsource. There's a phone call coming in from there as well. Wish I would have sold my stock about a week ago. That's unfortunate. That's a bummer. Don't want to think about that. But let's go ahead and talk to Squirrel first. We'll get to you in a second there, Chopper. Lay of the land as far as the slates. Where are you at, Squirrel? Again, big boy slate, 12 gamer. Some really good pitching. A lot of good pitchers out there. Got to monitor the trade deadline. Some stuff is happening. Probably won't happen just yet. Still, 4 or 5 days out. Tampa's getting rid of some of their parts. Zach Eflin traded. Arozarena was traded in the middle of the night. Not going to be available tonight. I saw because Saturday is the expectation as far as when he's going to join the Mariners. But Squirrel, if you can give us sort of an overview on the slate, how are you seeing it?
So there's different kinds of slates, right? Like there's like Coors Field slates, there's like weather slates, there's like, the pitcher is going with like a 12 strikeout prop slate. This is, I think, a ballpark upgrade slate for me. I think I'm going to handle the slate a little bit differently than I've been handling like most of the season. Most of the season I've been advocating like you got to spend down a pitcher, spend up for like the top stacks, the top power bats. This is one where I think you can actually go a little bit cheaper with your stacks, and maybe even go for some like the hitters, that are in lineups or have a lower implied run total. I think like the A's, the Mariners, like getting big ballpark upgrades. Like obviously Oakland's been super hot, like the top slugging percentage over the last 30 days, and like the pricing hasn't really caught up to all this stuff or adjusted to all this stuff. So it might be a slate where I spend up a little bit more on pitching and then spend down at hitters. But, I think you can still play like some of those really expensive bats like Bobby Witt and Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. Like they're always in a good spot. I think it's an interesting slate.
Yeah, we'll talk about stacks later, obviously. But some of the biggest totals on the board, Baltimore at home against Adam Mazer, who's got a walk rate very similar to a strikeout rate, which is never good. Their total is 5.4. We have Boston and the Yankees, pretty big total there. Yankees right around 5. Boston closing in on 5 against Nasty Nestor. I don't know if there's any other team that has a 5 total. Kansas City right there at 5. Oakland close to 5, taking on Carson Fulmer, mostly pitching out of the bullpen this year. So probably only goes like 4 or 5, and then the rest goes to the pen. It's pretty cold in San Fran tonight. Colorado getting the biggest downgrade. You're talking about upgrades. Not that you want to put the Rockies necessarily, so you don't want to play them in San Fran. But 4.7 on the other side against Kyle Freeland. And we see Eric in chat saying, can we play Kyle Freeland? I don't know why you'd want to, but we'll have that conversation, I suppose. Chop, are you all caught up? Are you good to go? Can you join the conversation as far as the slate? You need a little bit more time, or
no,
ready to
man, go? I'm good, Dean. I didn't realize we were on air. I could have winged it there, man. I thought we were just goofing off backstage, just the boys talking, and then you caught me off guard. But yeah, it's a big slate, right? It's a big one, and there's some good prizes out there on DraftKings. So good multi-entry day, and I don't know, Dean. There's all kinds of there's expensive pitching is good. There's cheap pitching is good. There's you can mix and match those things. You can go 2 expensive ones like Squirrel said. You can go 2 cheap ones, but I don't even know if there's even enough offense that you need to spend up for. It's not like some big ass team in Coors Field, that you want to spend up $6,500 on each hitter or nothing. So I don't know if you need to go that route, but it's just all over the place. There's all kinds of good stacks, and man, this thing could go anywhere, Dean.
I think it's pretty clear. Like the cheap, popular one's going to be Kyle Harrison, the aforementioned Rockies at home in San Fran. Good pitching weather as well, and Colorado's terrible. Amongst the biggest names, the most popular is going to be Freddie Peralta. That's what we're seeing it right now, 30% on DK. George Kirby, 27% taking on whatever's left. The White Sox, who are horrendous. Sonny Gray versus Washington getting 18%. The return, I should say, the in-season debut of Kodai Senga wasn't really able to pitch very deep in the minors. Just going through his game log there, but obviously he had some big games last year. But don't think I'm getting there. We are giving him 89 pitches, which to me feels a little bit ambitious for him. Taking on that watered-down Atlanta team. Zach Gallen versus Pittsburgh, no Brian Reynolds. But Gallen's just been kind of rough these days. Not Gallen-like, I guess. Doesn't mean he can't go ahead and find it again. But he hasn't been his typical sharp self. G-Rod, taking on San Diego. Another cheapie that might get some ownership is Thorpe, just as he's facing Seattle. That Seattle offense, we know how horrendous that is. Heaney's another cheapie that's getting, 13% or so. Brady Singer versus the Cubbies, 14%. I'm sorry, 8%. I was reading the projection as opposed to the percentage. But, yeah, there is a lot of arms in play. Again, a lot of teams, a lot going on. Chop, you said you suggested, are we playing more than one lineup? We having fun tonight? We running 150? What's the plan?
No, not doing 150. I'm doing maybe 5 to 10 in the big DraftKings tournament. I think it's $111 price point. So
yeah,
just goofing off, Dean. I mean, I'm behind 8-ball now. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I've messed everything up, Dean. Before the show, I messed up the algorithm. All it takes is to misclick one thing within the algorithm, like one thing, copy and paste one extra column on accident, and you mess yourself up. Then you got to backtrack and go back and check everything and see where you messed up. So yeah, I'm behind 8-ball, but we're gonna roll with about let's call it 5 in the 111. Let's call it 5, maybe 10 if it's still there when we get off here. You're on mute.
Did you back up all your research for the BBP suggestion of the day? And
I got it back online. I finally got it back online. I was cutting it tight towards the show. I got it back online. So I do have a BVP suggestion of the day. I do have the knockers on layaway. And so we're good to go. But just, stuff, Dean, just ridiculous stuff. And, I signed up for some DraftKings pick 6. So I'm ready for that too. Hopefully you guys got some good picks tonight because, I really need to hammer a pick 6 tonight is what I need to hammer.
It's not a thing in my state, so I have not had a chance to play it. Joppa, did you also download the Firefox extension? Because if you have RG Premium, and if you're playing the DraftKings Pick 6, you can get the web browser. It's free if you have Premium. You get Premium picks and pick 'em projections. They overlay on the screen. They can help you quickly find the best options, the best bets as they currently stand. Is this something we've dabbled in? Is this your first night as far as Pick 6? Is it brand new to Texas? I have no idea.
No, we've had it for about a month now. I've been goofing around with it, nothing serious. But I've lost some money. I'd like to recoup that money if I could. So, any help would be nice of you.
Squirrel, you in the Pick 6 streets? Is that something you can play in?
I keep meaning to really sign up for it. I think I accidentally signed up for it. Like I clicked something. And put in my username, whatever, and it's like, welcome to Pick 6. It's like, I had a promo offer I forgot to add and stuff. So I'm officially signed up, but I haven't really played it yet. But I intend to. It seems like it could be my kind of thing.
Yeah, it feels like there's a fair bit of game theory in there, and that the super obvious plays may not be the best plays because I think, and I'm not certain of this, but I think the less people that hit the 6 out of 6, the more money you get paid for it. That's my understanding. So maybe there's the game theory of going against the top couple of picks on the board. Does that sound right to you, Chop?
Absolutely. It's weird. So it's such a weird game that sometimes I look and I'm like, this sucks. I might as well just play prize picks or underdog because these payouts are a little bit lower than that. Why would I do that? And then every once in a while you get this thing where it's like you hit 2 for 2 and it pays you 10 times. And I'm like, whoa, how did that happen? Well, you go back and look and you see everybody loaded up on 20% of the field took this guy's over and it went under or whatever. So yeah, it does make a difference. It's pretty interesting like that.
So maybe the RG extension, you kind of don't play the first 5, you skip the first 5 or 6 or whatever it is. And then, because those are probably going to be popular. I don't know. Just trying to think game theory wise. I have not played it out, but that's probably something I would consider. You kind of reverse engineer it, but okay. Overview as far as the slate. By the Squirrel, are you in the 111? You running some out there? Where are you putting your money tonight?
Good question. I intend to be in the 111. I have not yet registered, so I'm going to take a look at that now and see how close it is. Okay, still about 1,200 entries. I will certainly be in that contest. Not sure if I'm going to 150 it, but we'll see.
I'm trying to see. Yeah, there's a little bit over 1,000 spots left. I think I have 1 or 2 in there right now. I had some tickets. Maybe I'll join in it, but it looks like it's going to sell out because it's almost 80% full with about 2 hours to go. So if you want to play in there, by all means. 111 to jump in, 500K total prize pool. What do you got, TJ?
Squirrel, if you're busy, you can just PayPal money to me and I'll 150 max it. So that's fine.
Okay. Thanks.
The exchange rate is how they get you, though. Even if you win, you're going to end up losing some money for sure.
So send them Canadian dollars.
Yeah, you get all the loonies and toonies.
Hey, it's tax free for me. I'm telling you, we come out ahead even if the deposits are bigger.
It's definitely a nice perk. It's definitely a nice Canadian perk for sure. Scroll, are you taking any big stands here as far as pitching? We're seeing Peralta being the most popular. It is kind of sort of somewhat flat. Like a lot of pitchers throwing baseballs tonight. Peralta versus the Marlins. Great matchup. Obviously, we know the Marlins stink. Kirby against the White Sox. Kirby is not this strikeout guy, but he's super efficient. Doesn't walk anybody, so he can go 7 or 8 possibly innings and just kind of just compile outs. Harrison is the chalkiest amongst the cheapies, but the ballpark is awesome and the opponent is awesome. What are we leaning in on? What are we leaning out on? Is that good chalk? Is that bad chalk?
So I don't think I'm going to take any dramatic stance. And it's actually kind of rare because I've been saying, you have to spend down a pitcher for a good portion of the season. Like, yeah, there's no pitcher on DraftKings at 10,000 or above. If I'm taking a stand, is that I think that Freddie Peralta is in a much better spot than George Kirby, which I think is different from the field. Like Kirby on the road, like is not as good. Like you have to add a full run to like his ERA, his xFIP, all that stuff. He's about a full run worse on the road, which makes sense because Seattle's a great pitching ballpark. Like, but people are not really I think factoring that in. Like they're just looking at his season long stats. He's a good pitcher. I think it's about 3.8 or 3.9 ERA on the road or something. He's just significantly better at home. Whereas Freddie Peralta doesn't really have that. And Freddie Peralta is going up against Miami. I mean, not that the White Sox are a bad matchup for Kirby, but Miami is pretty tough. They just can't hit right-handed pitching. So good matchup for Peralta. He's a high strikeout guy. I think his strikeouts are maybe a little bit matchup proof. So it takes care of Miami not really striking out that much. So yeah, I much prefer Peralta over Kirby.
What about, I didn't mention Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray actually is the biggest K rate on this slate. It's really close. Peralta, 30.4%. A Gray, 30.7%, taking on your Washington Nationals. Where do you have Sonny Gray?
I think he's a good chunk behind Peralta and Kirby. And then if I'm not spending up on Peralta and Kirby, there are some pretty good value options. I'd probably prefer to spend down or maybe get a little bit different with Nestor Cortez. Cortez is much better FanDuel play than DraftKings. But Boston's got an incredible strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. It's higher than the Mariners now against righties. And that's the thing we've been talking about all seasons. The Mariners are striking out versus righties. So I think Nestor Cortez is in play. That's not really a spend down, but Kyle Harrison is a pretty good spend down. There's a bunch of low-priced Kyles on this slate, but Harrison is the one that you want. 6,900 on DraftKings. And then I don't mind some Mackenzie Gore. He hasn't been pitching that well lately, but that's the kind of thing that can turn around at any moment. And I still think, I think he's got a lot of upside. I'm a little bit of a Washington homer, so keep that in mind. But I think Gore is somebody that should be represented in your 150 set if you're going that route.
I'm a Gore guy as well. I just feel you never have any idea what's going on. I feel like he's just tired. 3 starts ago, 5 walks. The start before that, after that, 3 walks, 4 walks in the last start. He's just been really bad of late. And maybe he's not. Maybe it's just bad luck. That's against Cincinnati, the Mets, and St. Louis. St. Louis is facing tonight. And I too believe in the talent in Gore. Has he pitched this deep historically? Not many times. Maybe he has. He's had a lot of injuries. So maybe that could be it. Maybe I'm just making it up. But I feel like he's not in good form right now. And I have no idea. That's just sort of my peripheral thoughts.
Yeah, I think 3 starts is a short enough frame where I'm willing to just chalk it up to randomness, variance. Maybe he's getting a little bit tired. But like I said, it's the kind of thing he's got the talent, so that can turn on a dime. And suddenly he shuts him out for 7 innings or something, gets 8 Ks, and he's a pitcher that's really paying off a $7,500 price tag.
We threw a lot of names out there, Chop. Anything you want to expand on? Anybody you love? Anybody you hate? Anybody you want to introduce to the conversation?
Some of the guys you talked about, I obviously love Peralta, love Kirby, and probably love Peralta a little bit more than Kirby. You mentioned Sonny Gray. I think he's fine. Don't know. These guys are all priced the same, or similar, so it's going to be tough. It'd be tough to get him over those other two guys. Zach Gallen, I like. I don't mind Zach Gallen against Washington or against Pittsburgh. They don't, they don't have a lot of pop in that lineup. They don't strike out a lot, or the projected lineup, but they don't have a lot of pop in there. So I don't mind Zach Gallen rebounding here. Who did we not talk about? Well, okay.
No Brian Reynolds, by the way. Just a heads up. Brian Reynolds won't be in that lineup facing Gallen.
It's even better.
Really wild last time. 6 walks. Strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I chalk that up. You said chalking it up to whatever. I chalk that up to just variance, whatever. Maybe he had some bad fish before the thing and he didn't have control. But so there's guys that nobody, the ownership kind of reflects it, but not. There's guys nobody's really talking about, like Framber, okay, against the Dodgers, where maybe if you could neutralize the 2 left-handers to start the game, and at the top of the order, because he's lefty on lefty and he's pretty decent that way, the rest of that lineup could be pretty weak. So, you never know with Framber. Like, he is the box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get. So you got that. Grayson Rodriguez, it is a bad strikeout matchup, but, man, he was really good last time out. He looks like he's got some pretty good form going. And this lineup is still, I don't know how they do it without Tatis, but yeah, I keep kind of wanting to pick on him, even though they haven't shown that you should. But Grayson Rodriguez is interesting too. And then you go into some cheaper guys. You talked about Harrison. That should be chalk. And I'm kind of torn on that one. When we get to the stat game, I think you'll see that Colorado makes for some pretty decent leverage there. If quarter of the field's going to play a guy like Kyle Harrison, who, let me pull up those numbers real quick. Yeah, like everything about his stats say that ERA is a fluky kind of a thing, that he's much worse than that. And the strikeouts aren't there and the walks can get high sometimes. And so, Kyle Harrison, I kind of prefer as a cheaper end option, Drew Thorpe. So, got me some Drew Thorpe tonight against Seattle. And, it's kind of where I'm at, Dean.
Chop, you mentioned, your boy Framber. A couple questions. First of all, the thoughts about, I know there's some rumblings about him maybe pitching Hurts. Is that over? Is that gone? Is that still there? Secondly, you said he's like the old box of chocolate. What is the best and worst piece? And the random box of chocolate that gives you the map that tells you what's what? I mean, I think there's a clear worst, but you tell me, do you have a definitive best or worst piece? The chat will tell us too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really
sure. The Russell Stover deal, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but the thing is I don't ever eat chocolate like that. So I don't, I have no idea what you were classifying, but I mean, I guess if I get something that I bite into and it's, if it has anything to do with like peanut butter or something, I'm good to go. But if it has anything to do with like anything fruity, I'm out, Dean.
I was thinking the coconut one is the landmine. What do you think, Scroll?
I like coconut. Coconut's good.
I'm trying to think, because I don't eat that kind of chocolate that often. And I think anything that's like rock hard, like the toffee. I like the taste of the toffee. It's just like I'm not expecting it, right? When I'm not looking at the map, right? I don't know. It's something I got this hard toffee. I much prefer like the soft like caramel or something like that, or like maybe even like a strawberry cream.
Boss Bro saying coconut is trash. Let's see, the marshmallow or nougat ones. So those are the ones that suck. Yeah, it's been a while since I've had that as well. But that's just sort of my picture when you mentioned that there, Chop. By the way, our friend of the show, Chris Kirkwood, Kirk D's, Juggalo Nation, shout out, says, looks like he's saying his favorite pitching play of the year, of the season. Has he unleashed it? Do we have to call a number for this? Do I have to text somebody? Is he just going to go ahead and tell us? Do we need a certain number of likes? Have I missed it as Kirkwood told us?
He has. It's Drew Thorpe, and that's also mine.
Oh, okay. Well, TJ, I did see we're not playing the feud with you today. Unfortunately, no time. You are producing as well. But did you want to chime in? You said that if I was playing the feud and not like game theory, I would just kind of play it differently, that I would get 3 X's pretty quickly. How goofy is your board? And on behalf of Kirkwood, give me the Thorpe.
Give me three guesses outside of Thorpe off the bat.
That I think will be on your board in your pool. I think you're gonna play Peralta. Senga's out. I think Senga's out. I think Gallen might be out. G-Rod might be out. Framber might be out. Oh, Gore's going to be out. I don't know how close I am. How many pitchers are actually in your pool? I guess this would be more helpful. TJ, is TJ with us?
In my pool, there are. Hold on.
I was just firing off.
Wasn't ready. Six pitchers in the pool.
Okay, that's pretty tight. So Thorpe's going to be one of them. I wonder if Thorpe is like a pivot off of Harrison, and you're just taking a big stand and saying, "I'm going to have all the Thorpe and none of the Harrison." Is that a thought process for you?
I don't know. I'm doing production stuff now. This has gone on longer than I expected. I just wanted.
You brought
guesses,
this up.
So, I literally just wanted 3 guesses, and you still haven't gave them. So let's move on.
I did. Is nobody hearing me today? I very clearly told
all
Chop
you guessed
that,
was
that
Peralta.
he was live.
All you guessed was Peralta. That's all you said.
Squirrel, back me up. Did I fire off like 6 names? Am I just
You
talking
said
to myself?
you ruled out 6 names. You didn't
Some of them
actually
were
guess
negatives,
anyone.
yeah.
I was reverse engineering, but all right, fair enough.
All you guessed was Peralta. I was just waiting on the other 2. I'm trying to figure out why the app stopped working. The audio just.
All right. We do need to get 2 hitters because we have 24 teams to rank as far as throwing them in our stacks. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else we should focus on. Did you have a take, Squirrel, as far as Thorpe? I know we've mentioned him in passing several times. Interesting pivot as far as the cheapies. What's your official Drew Thorpe take? Is there anybody we missed? Because there's a lot of names. I'm not playing Senga. I'm not playing enough lineups. And even if I was playing 80, I just can't see him being like the top pitcher on the slate. I would be shocked if he goes 6 innings. So I definitely wouldn't play him on FanDuel as far as getting the QS. Anybody else we should sort of focus on or that we missed that we, or I guess, kind of circle back on?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I wanted to mention Drew Thorpe. Like, if nobody had mentioned him, it's like, I want to take the mic back and say, like, Drew Thorpe, is a right-handed pitcher facing Seattle. I fall way farther on the Seattle side than the Drew Thorpe side. But, like, he is a guy that you should, be considering for your 150 pool. Just because he's facing a Seattle Mariners team that strikes out like crazy against right-handed pitching.
Let's look at the team specifically. I think our lineup has dropped. Like we said, no Rosarena just yet. 27.1% strikeouts collectively. Raleigh, that's Cal Raleigh, big dumper. 34% Ks, 34% for Polanco, 30% for Luke Raley, 34% for Garver, 28% for Dylan Moore. A lot of Ks in that lineup. Not that Thorpe has a lot this year, but I think he was expected more. I'm pretty sure in the minors he had a fair bit of Ks. Not sure if he's still adjusting or it's just been kind of unlucky. What is his swinging strikeout rate? Does it suggest that maybe a few more are coming? 15.4% Ks and a swinging strikeout rate of 10.6. So, it does suggest maybe he's getting a little bit unlucky as far as strikeouts. Anybody else here, Squirrel, do you want to focus on that we should mention? Singer's being thrown out there. I think he's sort of fine. If I land on him, whatever, I guess, but I'm not like seeking him out actively. Is that your official take on Singer as well? Or where are you at as far as Brady Singer?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be playing Brady Singer. Depends how crazy I get with the 150, but not really on my radar. Somebody I'm making a point to go get in my lineups.
All right. I'm trying to see if anybody, and Freeland's been mentioned in chat a couple times. Is anybody playing Kyle Freeland? I mean, I'm not doing that. Anybody want to speak up on his behalf? Oh, okay, TJ. Go ahead.
It's like 55 degrees in San Francisco in one of the best pitchers parks in baseball. So I'm playing him. It's 5.5
yeah,
whatever he is. Super duper cheap, and it's cold in a great pitcher's park.
I was looking at Weather Edge. What'd you say there, Squirrel?
Kyle Freeland's got a 1.88 ERA at home this year and a 9.38 ERA on the road.
Explain that.
Like, probably not sustainable, but
that is weird. That is kind of surprising. I know, like, a lot of pitchers like their home mound, but a lot of pitchers probably don't like throwing indoors. That's just that's a strange breakdown. Weather Edge, by the way, as far as that San Francisco game, want to go ahead and pull that up. Huge sample, 471 games. Like TJ was saying, a good ballpark for pitching. 12% hit as far as homers with 58-degree temperatures. The wind is blowing out to left field, but that ballpark does a good job of subduing wind, making it basically a non-factor. Okay. Oh, and I read Roth didn't have a lot to do as far as not a lot of potential rain out there. He said green Kansas City, green San Fran, and he dropped a is that the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. He dropped that quote in his weather report. Is that God? What's the famous guy who said that? Anybody know? It's not coming to me. I had it earlier when I read it. I'm like, well, that's so and so, and now I don't recall. Doesn't matter. But
Elon Musk. Is that Elon Musk?
It was not Elon Musk. No, I don't think it was Whitman either. Was it Walt Whitman? Mark Twain. That's who it was. Mark Twain. Andrew throwing it out in chats. That makes sense. Okay. Anything else as far as pitchers? Stacks? We're going to Stacks, boys. You got anything else there, Chopper?
Dean, I'm looking, I'm perusing, and I don't think we've really. I think we've touched them all.
Okay, Stacks. We got a whole bunch of them. By the way, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. You want to get Chopper's knockers. You want to get. I assume Spidey is lurking. That TJ is producing. So I imagine TJ and Spidey are hanging out. So let's see if we'll go ahead and drop in the chat. If Spidey is available, maybe he gets the day off. I'm not really sure. Not what the threshold is as far as hitting likes to get a certain number of Spidey bombs. But yeah, our category today for Stacks. Anybody watching the opening ceremonies for the Olympics are going on in Paris, and there's a time difference. So like it's going on right now, or maybe just finished. I was catching a few things here and there on Twitter, but yeah. So I was thinking about some of the events in the Olympics, and I was thinking broad, and I'm like, no, let's just go gymnastics just in general. There's TJ dropping in chat. 100, 150, 200 as far as the threshold for likes. Tell me in chat the best and worst events in gymnastics. Chop, I don't think you saw this conversation. Do you have a take, Chop? And men's, women's, I combined them. So
yeah, I saw
the worst events.
I saw it, Dean. I saw it. I didn't have an opinion on it because I don't really. That's one thing where the Olympics roll around and I could really care less about is the gymnastics part.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the more interesting events. Fair
you
enough.
You would.
Well, you say that like you're sitting in a slanderous tone, but there's no shame.
The last gymnastics I watched was in old school.
Yeah, well, that's vaguely a memory, but I do remember. That was one of the events they had in old school. It's been a while since. Does it still hold up, Chop? I've not seen it in forever. Still good?
Of course. Yeah. Any like Vince Vaughn comedies, they hold up, man. It's crazy.
He does action movies now, by the way. Cell Block, the Brawl in Cell Block 99 is a wild movie. I think it's 99. It's definitely different than and the other one there's another one he did with Mel Gibson that was actually pretty good too. Same director, actually. I can't recall what it is, but there you go. Hit up IMDb if you're curious enough. In any event, let's see. That part says best event gymnastics balance beam. And yeah, that part says gymnastics is the top. Let's see. Yeah. So a lot of gymnastics fans here in the chat, Chopper. But I did rank 5 categories. Kind of tough, 1 and 2. There was a theme though. Kind of a theme. The men's are boring. I kind of work backwards, I suppose. Rings. Wow, it's super impressive. If you watch rings, they all kind of do the same thing. Like it's really, really impressive. The strength they have is absurd, but it's pretty boring. A little bit less boring, the pommel horse. Just a little bit less. Again, very redundant. They just do the same thing over and over again. The women on the uneven bars, they'll be creative. They'll do different things. The best one, 1 and 1A, floor exercise. You got music going on. They can show off personality. And the balance beam, like any second, they can fall off. There's so much drama. And really, probably the most impressive thing, just like they're on 6-inch beam, they can any blow wind, whatever, they're going over and they're flipping off it. It's really super impressive. So that's where I have it: floor exercise, balance beam, uneven bars. Pommel Horse is just, again, impressive, but boring and redundant. And then Rings. Chop, you have any issues with this board? I guess you just have no opinions at all.
I prefer the 100-meter dash.
Well, that's a different category. Which, by the way, kind of overrated. It's like over in 10 seconds.
Man. Yeah.
It's cool, but
You're
it's so fast.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. Don't get some. I hope you're not thirsty. You can't leave the room. It's cool, but it's and also it's kind of goofy. A lot of it's based upon the start, and that has nothing to do with how fast you are. Getting out of the blocks. All right. Chop, you know what? Next time we'll do best Olympic events. You can have that. How about that? Does that work for you?
Whatever you want, Dean.
All right. I want you to be happy. I'm trying to help you out. But all right. Pete Peters in chat says Pommel Horse is most difficult I did in college. Yeah, I'm sure it looks really difficult. Just that they all do the same thing, basically, more or less. To the naked eye. I'm not a professional. Speed walking is the worst event, according to Derek. Anything you got here, Squirrel, as far as this list before we do a little game by game?
I probably prefer the balance beam over the floor exercise. Like, floor exercise just seems like they're just dancing around. Like, the balance beam seems like, obviously it's all like incredible athleticism. I think like the balance beam adds like an element of danger, as does like the uneven bars. And so I may put the floor exercise a little bit lower. But then again, like when I talk about element of danger, like some of these girls are like flipping like 4 times in the air. They could break their neck at any second. So it's all very exciting.
All right. First game on the board. Squirrel, it's yours. San Diego, Baltimore. Baltimore, one of the biggest totals with coming back home after hanging out there in Miami. You got G-Rod, Grayson Rodriguez, minus 200 favorite. Big boy favorite here against Adam Mazer. Mazer does not strike out anybody. He walks too many guys. So that's why Baltimore has got this big total. San Diego, total less than 4. You got the old Manny Machado revenge game as well. Where do you have the Padres and Baltimore?
So I'm going to get maybe a little bit risky kind of right out of the gate here. I'm going to put the Padres in Rings facing by Grayson Rodriguez. Good run suppression. That's maybe not too much of a surprise. I'm going to put the Orioles in uneven bars. I think they're going to be a little bit overowned tonight. I think everybody's going there. I think there's better stats. Orioles and uneven bars, San Diego and Rings.
That is kind of surprising, but you are baking in ownership, I think. That's what's going on there. That ownership's pushing them down. Chop, any issues with Baltimore in the middle? San Diego hanging out with the Rings.
I got San Diego down in Rings also. I had Baltimore in floor exercise, and they should be chalky. You just got to try to get different within your stack. I think they're facing this guy that you mentioned, all those things that, the strikeouts and the walks being comparable and all that other stuff. But he just flat out gives out runs in limited innings that he starts. And the runs are what we want. So let's just get different. They've got like a ton of young guys in that lineup. Like, just don't go to Gunnar Henderson. Try to get away from Gunnar and maybe Santander or somebody else. Go with go down 7, 8, 9. I think there's just as much power down there. I can't get away from Baltimore tonight completely. I had them in floor exercise.
You can always stack Baltimore and just put a different shortstop in there, right? Like, there's so many good shortstop, and just play with Baltimore stack if you can make that work. I see TJ has already set the compromise. Yeah, let's work the compromise. But Baltimore, not all the way up the floor exercise, but hanging out in balance beam. By the way, just to reiterate, as far as the numbers, the worst Sierra on the slate, Adam Mazer, 5.86, and that is backed up loosely by an ERA of 7.84. The sample is pretty small, just 31 innings. Fly ball guy, 14.3% Ks, 12.9% walks, which that is dangerous when your walk rate and your K rate are basically the same. You have to be a really, really amazing strikeout pitcher, or you're horrendous.
And
okay.
And also, Gunnar Henderson is struggling. He was like 0 for 11 in that Miami series until he finally got a little low base hit in his very last at bat. So you can't get away from that. And also, I forgot what I was going to say, but somebody made a point in chat and I was going to reiterate it. But I forget what it was. But yeah, I just that's fine. Let's move on, Dean.
Took me a second to get the joke there in chats from Brand Joy. All right. Next game here, Chop. You're up first. Toronto, the Blue Jays. Kikuchi taking on Andrew Heaney. A total. Toronto slight favorite, -125. A team total just above 4. Texas has a team total just below 4. Where do you have the Rangers and the Blue Jays?
Texas, Toronto. Okay, so I've got it's a big slate. So a lot of these teams are going to end up in the middle, guys. You can't get mad about that. There can't be a stand on every single team here, So I've got them both right there in the uneven bars. I just think it's Haney's not good, but he's not bad. He's a middling pitcher, and Kikuchi is pretty good most of the time. Sometimes he's not great, but most of the time he's adequate. There's just not a lot here that I absolutely love tonight.
All right, both hanging out in the middle. Chops, he's hanging out. He's on the balance beam. He's not willing to go one way or the other. What about Squirrel? Are you on the fence as well? Are you good with Toronto and Texas in the middle? Any umbrage?
That's exactly where I was going to put them. They're both pretty average teams. Maybe slightly prefer Toronto. They're slightly favored, but yeah, they both have an implied run total about 4. Probably just not going to be the blow up spot tonight. And so, yeah, uneven bars.
Just saw a random question in chats. Trying to keep an eye on chat as we're kind of bouncing back and forth. Is St. Louis going to be too chalky? It's a 12-game slate. Scroll, how much do you care about offensive ownership, especially on a team that's not Baltimore, right? Or that's not one of the. Do we care about that? I don't think we care about that.
Not really. It's a big difference between Coors Field slates and non-Coors Field slates. You're probably not going to see any team get big ownership, and I think the team most likely to get big ownership is going to be the Orioles.
Yeah, and if you like a team, just play the team. Don't not play them. Don't not because of ownership. And then probably a better way to phrase that. Okay, Atlanta Mets 7.5 total. Pitchers Ballpark season debut of Kodai Senga taking on Charlie Morton. Yeah, not a big total here. The Mets are favored -135. Neither team. It's a team total above 4. Where do we have the Braves and the Mets? Squirrel?
Yeah, I'm going to put them both right back in uneven bars. There's just, it's good pitching ballpark, decent pitchers. I'm going to go. I'll put them in uneven bars. Nothing that sticks out about either team.
Chopper?
The only difference I had there was the Braves down in Pummel Horse, but it's a very, so either way.
Where did you have the Braves again?
Pummel Horse? I don't even know what the hell that, I couldn't even tell you what a Pummel Horse was if I seen it on TV, Dean.
You've seen the Pummel Horse before, for sure. You've definitely seen it. Maybe you didn't know that with the
Anyway, yeah, I got him there. So it's kind of whatever. We can stick with what he's got. But what I was going to say a minute ago, Dean, I remember now about the Orioles. They do get an added boost tonight in that stack of if you believe in narratives and feeling good about yourself. It's not every day your team gets a hold of a Sir Anthony Dominguez for the playoff run. Not every day. So maybe it boosts the energy up of the offense a little bit.
Well, they also got Zach Eflin.
Oh, there was more trades today?
Yeah.
God,
I think you're making a joke. Yeah.
Oof, that's a pretty good trade for you. What else did they got? I must have been playing around with the damn Windows 11. I didn't even see what's going on.
And they got what's the defensive outfielder, the speedster. What's the guy's name from Philadelphia? Used to be on the Braves, a Pache. They also got him too. Yeah. Oh, he's a pinch runner, and if you need a pinch runner, 25th man in the, he's a good defensive outfielder, but he can't steal first, that kind of thing.
They got Eflin. Okay, that's good for them. They needed something because that pitching staff wasn't going to survive the first round of the playoffs again. At least they're getting some reinforcements. What's
the one trade, Chop, that we need to happen? For your Houston Astros, I don't know if you care about that, or just in general, what's the one trade that has to happen?
I'd love them to. I'd love to see them give up some kind of prospect. Hopefully not a top 5 guy, but some kind of prospect in there to get their hands on Paredes.
He's available for sure. Tampa is doing the fire sale. By the way, they're lying to us about Kyle Tucker. They said he had a contusion. which is a bruise, and he's out there. Now they're saying he might be out. Hopefully he's back before September. Houston, a bunch of liars. Just a bunch of liars, that organization, Chop. What is the competitive advantage of that?
Or maybe it is was just a really bad bone bruise, and maybe Kyle Tucker has decided to not play at full strength this year because they won't give him the contract extension or the first real contract. Maybe he's taking it upon himself to sit out these games, and they're actually not lying, Dean. So before you go and point the fingers, Dean,
you're saying like you know something. What is more likely?
Just remember, before you point that finger, there's 4 more pointing back at you, brother.
We're counting the thumb?
Thumb counts as a digit.
Squirrel, is there a trade you think? I tweeted out today, I think, and I have no dog in the fight, but Jazz Chisholm to Kansas City just makes so much sense to me. Like, just put the nonsense they're leading off with, like Garrett Hampson and Frazier. Like, they got throw Jazz. Jazz can play second. He can play the outfield. He's versatile, and not that he's been spectacular this year, but that to me, that's like the clear and obvious trade that should happen. There's others too, sure, but what do you got, Squirrel?
I'm not as on top of like baseball in-season trades. So much of it comes down to contracts. Like you're basically trading away, X number of years, like a half a season of this guy, or a full year, and half of this guy, or whatever. Like the teams just like trade these guys around so much now, depending on the contract. So there's nothing that in particular stands out to me.
Jerry in chat says, I'm beginning to think this beef between Chop and Dean is real. Do we have a beef, Chop? This is news to me. I thought this was all fun and games, but if we do,
I've got no beef, Dean. I've heard through sources that you've got an Italian beef. I've got no beef, though. I'm not a beef guy.
You know what? If you have a beef, I'll meet you in Temecula. How about that, Chop? Temecula it is. Does that work for you? It's pretty far.
Is there a Costco in Temecula?
I don't know. I've never, to the best of my knowledge, I've never been to Temecula. All right, back at it. We did Atlanta and the Mets. Oh, Yankees and Red Sox. Speaking of beef, these teams don't like each other. 9.5 total. Brian Bayo, Nasty Nestor on the mound. Revenge game for who's got a revenge game in this one? Verdugo leading off against his old Boston teammates. I believe this is Squirrel's board. Cortez, Bayo, 9.5 total. Bayo's given a lot of homers this year despite being a ground ball guy. His homer on the fly ball is pretty goofy. I think it's over 20%. Yeah, 20.5% to be precise. Highest one on the board. Where do we have the Red Sox and the Yankees? And I believe Kirkwood in chat is like he's noted as saying wild stuff always happens in these games. So maybe wild stuff will happen in the series here. Where do you have the Yankees and the Red Sox?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll put the Yankees in flow exercise. They're on the road, so they get the 9th inning at bats. They're in a good hitter's ballpark. It's one of the few times they can like go on the road and end up in like a hitter's ballpark that's almost as good as their home stadium. A little bit concerned about Aaron Judge's numbers, like lifetime numbers in Fenway Park. Like I looked those up today. I was like, ooh, that's like nowhere near what I would have thought. I'll go ahead. I'll put the Red Sox in balance beam. They strike out a lot against left-handed pitching, but they can hit as well. And again, they're in a good hitter's ballpark, and wild things can happen in this series. So yeah, Yankees in floor exercise, Red Sox in balance beam.
But you think there's a thing that you think is possible? I don't know the sample size. That's probably pretty big. But you think Judge, it's possible, just doesn't like hitting there in Boston?
I feel like he's got over 150 plate appearances in Fenway and like abysmal numbers. Yeah.
What would Cardi say to that? 150 at bats. He would be so mad at you if he heard you say that. He still needs 4,850 more plate appearances to get a big enough sample size. Chop, where are you at as far as New York and Boston? Squirrel likes them both pretty clearly.
Yeah, I'm pretty much neutral on this. I try not to, if it's pretty close, I don't even really comment very much. But in this case, I actually got both of these in the uneven bars. And my reasoning would be because, Nestor Cortez, even though I don't believe in him, and I do believe if there is a Cortez outing, I would typically want to play something against him. But boy, the Red Sox are just not good against lefties. And there's like, I didn't check to see the confirmed lineup, but the projected lineup has a lot of strikeouts in there. So they have a hard time extending those rallies like that. So I don't know. That lineup kind of stinks against lefties, and then the Yankees is just not good. I kind of believe more in Bayo than his numbers would dictate. That ERA is a little bit way blown up. He's not that bad of a pitcher. Doesn't give up fly balls. So that doesn't play very well if you're stacking against him. And so kind of think he's better than that. But I'm kind of neutral on it. But I could definitely see the old rivalry doing some crazy things and one of these teams going crazy. But I got him neutral.
So Boston lineup today, Chop, collectively 25.9% striking out for his lefties, in part because Yoshida's in there. He's left on left and he's only 14%, but Rafaela over 30%, Devers 36%, Tyler O'Neill, awesome power, obviously 378 ISO. It's a monster number, but he's also striking out 33% of the time. Duran 24% left on left, Ref Snyder 25%, another good power hitter versus lefties, but also strikes out a fair bit. Yeah, I feel like you can play this one both ways. It's pretty tricky. You want to put them both in.
You know what? Let's put it like this. I can live with the Boston stuff because I do not like Nestor Cortez. So let's keep that one there. The Yankees, I had him in uneven bars. He's got him up top, so y'all can break the tie.
Yeah, I know. Scroll was talking about lifetime judge in Boston. I would say a bigger hit is Austin Wells is protecting him. I know that's kind of a myth too, like who's protecting a certain player, but I think teams are starting to figure out, let's go ahead. Myth. Some people would say it's a myth. Some people wouldn't. What? I don't know if it's been proven. As far as protection in the lineup,
looking on deck and seeing Austin Wells, and then you're looking in the batter's box, and it's the best hitter of the last 3 years probably. That's not a myth. You're not going to pitch to that guy with anybody on base or in any leverage situation. You're not pitching Aaron Judge when you look on deck and you see Austin Wells. That's not a myth. You
shouldn't. But sometimes you make mistake pitches and that kind of stuff. But is there actually numbers that play that out? I don't know. I haven't seen them. I'm not saying they don't exist. Scroll, you have a thought on that? I see you want to chime in.
No, I think the walks are a concern. I'm not as high on Aaron Judge, especially for tournaments, as I have been earlier in the season. I think he's got a good chance of getting 4 walks again. Maybe that's okay for cash games because he's adding some runs potentially, and he'll probably get a couple of at bats. But it wouldn't shock me if he's going to end up with 0 for 2 with 2 walks, 2 runs, something like that.
I'm just trying to think hypothetically, cash game lineup. Would you want 4 walks and 3 runs? So that's 14 points, no more, no less. I mean, it's not going to kill you. It's just a solo home run, but you want to build that floor as much as possible. It's a sort of interesting thought process. Okay, let's move on. Talk about the Dodgers and the Astros. Chop, this is your team. Gavin Stone, Framber Valdez. Left on left, the 2 best hitters for the Dodgers these days are Ohtani and Freeman. Of course, they still have Will Smith and Teoscar. They did add Nick Ahmed, who hit a homer a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. Good for him, but he's not a great stick. Kevin Biggio, also not the answer. I would imagine they're adding somebody in the trade deadline. We shall see. But Chop, where do you have your Astros? Valdez, they are favored against Gavin Stone, minus 130 favorites. Where are we putting the Dodgers and Houston?
Yeah. I think Framber is we've already talked about, a total mix of he can go out there and dominate tonight, or he could just be really off and get himself into trouble with walks. He never really seems to get himself into trouble with giving up power until he's just completely lost it, and he's walked so many guys that he's kind of given up. He's very fragile mentally. So we don't know what we're going to get. So the Dodgers could be a number 1 here. They could be a floor exercise. Or they could he could go out there and go 8 shutout innings. Or he actually just go 6 shutout innings and then turn it over to Abreu, Presley, and Hader, and then you're in trouble. So I've got the Dodgers right there in the middle. I'm sorry about that, guys. Can't do that. And I think Stone is an okay pitcher. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's a world beater, but I think he's okay. I don't think this Astros lineup is particularly good or great against right-handed pitching. So I'm not as impressed with them without Tucker. Once you get past Jordan or Yainer Diaz, batting clamp is pretty decent, but after that, it really falls off the table. So I've got them in 3 also, uneven bars.
As we jump to Squirrel, I just add the Dodger pinch hitter is starting versus a lefty. Vargas is vulnerable. Kiki's vulnerable. Even their starting Biggio against the lefty, I think, is vulnerable too. I think all 3 of those guys could get the hook at some point throughout the game. Jason Hayward's lurking on the bench. Somebody else too I'm missing off the top of my head. Squirrel, where do you have any issues as far as where Chop has placed Houston and LA? Right in the middle, straight down the middle, Chopper.
Yeah, I think they belong in the middle. Got about a 4 implied run total for the Dodgers. Like that's pretty low for that team. And I also in addition to the low implied run total, there is the pinch hit risk. So I think obviously they've got some talent, and you can play Shohei Ohtani and just add a couple other guys, and you've got a stack there, or 2, 3 other guys, and it's possible they hit. So I think middle is right. I'd maybe put the Astros a little bit higher. I could be talked into putting the Dodgers 1 lower based off of like price, and then I could be talked into putting the Astros 1 higher. But I'm okay with them both in the middle.
All right, we'll stick with Chop's choices. I did pull up the bat. Shout out Cardi. You mentioned Cardi, and the pinch hit risk is real for Vargas, 39%, 39% for Biggio, and 24% for Kike Hernandez. Even Ahmed, a little bit of pinch hit risk too, at 16%. Hey, shout out to producer Steve. Producer Steve on vacation, hanging out. Just jumped in and said hello in the chat. Apparently he got sick as well. That's sorry to hear about that, Steve, and your child. Hopefully everybody's feeling better soon enough. All right, but come back soon. TJ's doing a fabulous job in your stead. Extreme pitchers umpire, by the way, in that LA Houston game, for what it's worth. Do hit those the like button, because we want to be able to get TJ Spidey bombs. We want to get Choppers knockers, Choppers VBP suggestion of the day, all the goods before crunch time comes in. Crunch time comes in about 15 minutes or so. Squirrel, you have the Marlins and the Brewers. The Marlins have a team total barely getting to 3 at Milwaukee, taking on Freddie Peralta, Trevor Rogers on the bump for Miami. Almost a 5 total for Milwaukee. Big bummer for the Brewers, because former Marlin Christian Yelich potentially out for the season. We'll see. He's on the IL. We care about tonight and tonight only. He's not playing for the Brewers, having his back issues once again. What a bummer for them. Where do we have the Fish and the Brewers?
So yeah, Marlins just not a good hitting team. And Freddie Peralta has got, I think, the highest K per 9 on the slate. I think second highest K percentage. And yeah, go ahead and put the Brewers in balance beam. They are a good hitting team. And so, I think they just belong in balance beam. Close to floor exercise for me. But yeah, I'll keep them in balance beam.
Trevor Rogers, another one of those, like, not enough strikeouts, 18-ish%, too many walks, over 10% as well. So that's kind of a recipe. Not a ton of fly balls, but certainly somebody that's vulnerable to have blow up starts. I could see that tonight, even without Yelich. Chop, any issues here as far as Milwaukee and balance beam? The Marlins hanging out on the rings.
That is exactly where I have both teams placed.
All right. We have, let's see, how many more games we got? I think our timing is pretty good. 5 more games. Again, big boy slates. So we got to speed it up just a little bit, because crunch time's coming in about 11 or 12 minutes or so. Last I checked, no issues weather-wise, but if something changes, of course, Roth will be all over it. Okay, Washington and St. Louis. Did we already do Washington and St. Louis? No, we didn't. We just kind of talked about them casually. Washington, St. Louis, Mackenzie Gore and Sonny Gray, 7.5 total. Pretty neutral ballpark there in St. Louis. A little bit over 4 as far as the total here, Chop. A little bit above 3 for Washington. Not terribly exciting. Looks like a pretty uneventful game. You tell me otherwise. Gore versus Gray. Where are we putting the Nats and the Cardinals?
Yeah, I can't. I don't have a lot of love for either one of these offenses. I've got Washington down there in the rings section, and St. Louis, just because they have a little bit more power in their lineup. I got them 1 spot above in the pommel horse, but don't like either one of these teams particularly much tonight.
Squirrel?
Let's see. I'd put the Nationals up in the pommel horse, but probably not worth it. Probably semantics. I think they've got some stolen base potential, but that's about right. Might be some homers in there too.
Who are your favorite Nats? Is it the obvious stuff like Abrams, an interesting pivot at shortstop, potential home run? He can bang one out. He can swipe bags as well. You got a cheap Juan Yepes. Oh, it's a Juan Yepes revenge game. Is this a first blood revenge game? It might be first blood. Is this his first game back in St. Louis? He's still pretty cheap. James Wood, obviously, A ton of power there as well. Is that the quote unquote obvious stuff? Would that be our favorite options for Washington?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that you shouldn't overlook the Juan Yepez revenge game. He's only 3,500 on DraftKings still. He should be priced a little bit higher. So he's some good savings at the first base position.
Shobo King, by the way, ended up going to see the Goo Goo Dolls. He said they're still a very good band. We talked about them the other day. He caught him in DC. He's back home now. Back in the day, Chop was a big Goo Goo Dolls guy. He was always rocking out to Name and Slide and other great songs by the Goo Goo Dolls that I can't quite think of. Is that the two most popular? I think so. Maybe I missed something. Iris. That's also another one. There you go. I got 3. Chop, is that true? Can you confirm?
It was false, Dean. I was not a big. I'd say around that time frame, probably around that time frame. I'm more of a Pearl Jam guy.
Oh, there you go. All right. They're still doing their thing, Pearl Jam. And if you're watching The Bear, they pop up on the soundtrack pretty frequently. They do an awesome job music-wise on The Bear. Somebody in chat, I did confirm. I missed the comment. My apologies. Shane says there is a Costco in Temecula, Chop. So road trip to Temecula. Let's make it happen for sure. One of the biggest totals on the board is Oakland and the Angels. Oakland's offense, they like Freaky Friday with a really, really the 21 Yankees, whatever year that was, 27 Yankees. They're spectacular. Lawrence Butler, he wants to stop, but he can't stop. He's been absolutely incredible. Even left on left, he banged one out last night. Brent Rooker has been one of the best players in baseball like the entire season. Carson Fulmer is not something I'm necessarily afraid of on the other side. And I guess it's a ballpark bump. It has to be a ballpark bump here, Squirrel. Oakland jump into L.A. Anything's a ballpark bump for them, basically. Paul Blackburn, Carson Fulmer, 9.5 total, true coin toss. Where do we have the Athletics and the Angels? It's hard to get excited about the Angels, but I'm kind of excited about the A's. I'm afraid maybe too many people are. Even TJ already has preemptively put the A's up in floor exercise. Do you agree with that, Squirrel?
Yeah, I actually do. I think they're one of the absolute top stacks on the day. Best slugging percentage in WOBA over the last 30 days. They've got the best hitter in baseball, Lawrence Butler. Floor exercise for Oakland. I would actually put the Angels potentially up in the balance beam. I mean, they're implied to score as many runs as Oakland. And nobody wants to play the Angels, so you get a little bit of like an ownership edge there. So yeah, I think floor exercise for Oakland, balance beam for Angels.
I don't understand what they're doing with Odell. I know the batting average is bad, but like, what else are you doing? You might throw the guy out there every single day and see what you got. And he gives us counting stats. He'll hit homers and he'll swipe bags. He's batting like 190 or something like that. But when they do play him, is what I was getting at. He's hitting 9th. What is that? There's not 8 other better hitters in that lineup than Joe Adell. That's ridiculous. Any event. Chop, do we agree, disagree as far as Oakland all the way up top and the Angels hanging out in balance beam?
That's exactly how I had them last night's game. If it had a lot of more potential than just to end where it did. But last night's game between these two teams was on the little 2-gamer, not on the main slate. There's offense in this game. They're bad teams, but there's offense. Oakland is as hot as anybody on offense, and I agree with that, with that ranking. Yeah, you're on.
We got the 2 more games.
Count them, TJ. Put the number on the board, TJ. Another mute. No, we're up to like 2 or 3 now, maybe 4. I'm sure.
How many F-bombs do I have? How many do you count those?
Guys got to not sneak me on air without letting me know, man. That's crazy.
All right, 2 more. And now people are thinking we're fighting, Chop. Oh, it's real. Temecula, make it happen. Okay, so there's 2 more games. Chop, you're going to go here. Pittsburgh, Arizona. We have an Arizona lineup. No Pittsburgh lineup just yet. Luis Ortiz, Zach Gallen, 8.5 total. Arizona minus 175 as far as the favorite here. Where do we have the D-backs and the Pirates?
I'm not quite sure what to make of Luis Ortiz. I think he's a solid, decent pitcher. There's nothing like spectacular about him, but I think he's pretty solid. And he's really suppressing some runs. So I've got Arizona in the uneven bars. Don't love him, don't hate him. Zach Gallen, I think, is a pretty decent pitcher tonight. I'm on the Zach Gallen train tonight. Pittsburgh, for me, is down in the rings section because he's just he's at home and he's just pretty solid at not giving up too much when he's healthy. And so I got him down there. And they also got a boost to their bullpen too, Dean, if you didn't see.
AJ Puck. I don't know if he's available, but they traded for Puck. Yeah.
I didn't hear where you put the Diamondbacks shop. Where'd you have them?
Right in the middle. Right in the middle there. Uneven bars. I just kind of neutral on them tonight.
Scroll, any issues here? Arizona right smack in the middle in the uneven bars. Pittsburgh way at the bottom. No Brian Reynolds expected. He's hanging out in rings with the likes of the Marlins.
I might put the Pirates just up in Pommel Horse, just for the alliteration. Pittsburgh Pommel Horse. Pittsburgh Pirates Pommel Horse. Got to kind of out a little bit.
Oh, we hit the like button out there. Do we have enough likes to get Spidey Bombs? Do we have enough likes to get Chop's BBP suggestion of the day, the knockers as well? We got one more game to get all that out there. Crunch time coming in about 5 minutes or so. It's Kevin Roth. It's Will. And I'm not sure who else is coming in. I should know this, but it's somebody that's super sharp. I promise you that much. Okay, very last game. I think I apologize. Squirrel, are you up? I think it's Squirrel, right? Are you leading off for us?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think this is the last game, but so wait, what game were we
Did I skip one? You know what? I skipped Seattle and the White Sox. My bad.
Wait,
Seattle and the White Sox.
Am I on the wrong slate? Is Kansas City playing tonight on this slate?
Yeah, I just skipped a couple games.
Jesus, Dean. It wasn't Windows 11 after all that you messing everything up.
Well, Chop, since you're eager to talk about the Royals, as you should be, 9 total. Kyle Hendricks does not have it these days against Brian Singer. That's a director. Brady Singer versus Kyle Hendricks. KC almost a 5 total, minus 150 favorite against Kyle Hendricks. Chop, give me Kansas City and the Cubbies.
Kansas City for me is in the very top floor exercise. Yeah, the Kyle Hendricks not particularly good anymore. Strikeouts non-existent. We're at Kansas City. I don't know if you're aware of this, Dean, but there are some severe allegations out there that Kansas City is doing some funny business at home. Ooh. In terms of hitting. They've got some massive splits at home favoring them on the hitting side. So let's go Kansas City up top. And
if proven true, as an Astros fan, how do you feel about that? Those allegations?
I feel like if they can get it, if they can pull it off, they deserve it. Like if all eyes are out there now and you can pull it off and you found a way to do it, good for you, man. Good for you. Okay. For the Cubs, I kind of like Brady. I would much rather be on Brady Singer tonight than the Cubs offense. Probably because I like Singer because they can strike out a lot. So I'm not a huge fan of the Cubs tonight. I got them down there in Pommel Horse.
Squirrel, any big issues? If not, we can move on.
Yeah, we can just move on.
Seattle White Sox, 7.5 total. Drew Thorpe taking on George Kirby. Kirby going to be popular. Thorpe, one of the popular cheapies. If you're not running out Harrison, we'll talk about it in a second. Neither team. Well, I guess Seattle does have a team total above 4. They did trade for Rosarena, but he's not available tonight. That lineup still confirmed stinks. Where do you have the Mariners and the White Sox?
So White Sox and rings, they're facing George Kirby. It's not a good offense. That's probably not a surprise. Surprise, I'm putting Mariners up in floor exercise. I'm big on Seattle tonight. I think this is a good game for them. People don't realize, and kind of the reason I like Freddie Peralta over George Kirby, like Kirby is like so much better at home because it's such a good pitching ballpark. The Seattle offense is so bad at home. They're a decent hitting offense. On the road, like I would put like Cal Riley's like numbers up there. I mean, Cal Riley's one of the best hitters in baseball, just on the road. But he can't hit at home. His ISO is 1/3. It's like below 0.1 at home. It's like 0.3 something on the road. And I think this is a good matchup for them. Like Drew Thorpe isn't striking anybody out in the major leagues. So that's their big like Achilles heel is the strikeout. Like if they can make contact, they can hit the ball a long way, especially on the road.
They are cheap too. Robles hitting off is 2.9K. The tricky part is like, two of their best hitters are both catchers and catchers only. in Raleigh and Garver, so that's kind of annoying. Chop, any issues here with the placement? Mariners all the way up top, White Sox all the way in the bottom with rings.
White Sox, I agree with. The Mariners, that's a pretty hefty thing. I did look at them and say, you know what, I do like some of those lefties, Luke Raley, Cal Raleigh, whatever's in the lineup when it comes out. I mean, I wouldn't have had them that high, but hey, man, it's a great leverage play because Drew Thorpe has already been talked up in this chat enough. We know he's going to have pretty good ownership tonight.
All right, let's move Seattle down the balance beam. Chop, is that what you want to do? That's kind of what it sounds like, but that's still a pretty high praise, especially for the Mariners offense these days. Last one, Chopper, Colorado, San Fran. Also, get your BBP suggestion today. Get that ready, and get the knockers. Get it all for the people. Rockies, Giants, 8 total. Giants pretty big favorites here, -175. Colorado, barely a 3.5 total, if that. Where do you have the Giants and the Rockies?
I don't know. This game is so weird. You know, they got the weather and two poor pitchers. Kyle Freeland's not great. I've got San Francisco in the balance beam, but I could definitely see them lower if you think the weather's going to affect them. But they do have some guys in that lineup that really hit left-handed pitching pretty darn good. So that really jumps out. Colorado, man, I don't know what to do with them. They're a bad lineup, but Kyle Harrison's going to be chalky. I don't think he's very good right now. I don't think he's very good. I don't know what to do with Colorado. I'll put him in the middle and let Squirrel decide.
Squirrel, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I think the Rockies down the rings is fine. I'd put the Giants up in balance beam. Yeah, their numbers versus lefties, eye-opening. The top 3 hitters in the lineup all have WOBAs over 400 against left-handed hitters. And then the cleanup hitter, Matt Chapman's got a 387 WOBA. The ISOs versus left-handed pitching, Jorge Soler, 320, Tyler Fitzgerald, 286, Ramos, 304. Like, I wouldn't have predicted that from the Giants, but yeah, I think that, good against lefties, so put them up in balance beam.
Yeah, like the one issue for me would be the weather in the ballpark, obviously, and it's colder than expected. Okay, crunch time is here. Before they come in here, let's go ahead and get the knockers, Chop, and the old BBP suggestion of the day. And after that, Squirrel, if you can give them a couple homers.
All right, Dean, I'm going to try to duplicate the success we had on Wednesday where these plays went 3 for 3, Dean, believe it or not. They were really solid. Yeah, really solid stuff.
Actual knockers, or they added up to home runs points?
I'm not sure if both knockers homered, but they both really jumped off fantasy points wise. So
both knockers did homer. Christian Walker, Eugenio Suarez, both of them got home runs.
Okay,
and I think like maybe even their first at bats.
Boom. Not sweater. All right. Now this guy's not going to get a home run BVP suggestion of the day, but he's got some pretty good numbers, and we're going to jump on it because some guys got eliminated from the algorithm. Adam Frazier. We're going Adam Frazier against Hendricks. Pretty decent sample size there. Going Adam Frazier, BVP suggestion of the day. And for the knockers, Dean, you ever had any Beantown knockers from up in Boston? Some people say.
I've been to Boston. I can say that.
Yeah. Boston, some Beantown knockers. We're going to pick on Cortez tonight. Rob Ref Schneider, Tyler O'Neill. So let's get them.
I see Frazier has 2 homers and with 13 hits and 31 at-bats in his career versus Kyle Hendricks. Kyle Hendricks does struggle against lefties historically, just as long as they're not playing for the Cardinals. I'm sure STL Cards, who's coming out in a second, will probably tilt his face off talking about Hendricks and his history versus the Cardinals. Gave you enough time here, Squirrel, hopefully. What do you got as far as a couple homers for the people?
Yeah, I'll go with 2 hitters from stacks I like. Go with Willie Adames from the Brewers and Jorge Polanco from the Mariners.
Freddie Freeman was just scratched. Not sure what the Dodgers are going to do, but that certainly weakens them. Maybe it makes Framber a little bit more appealing, but that is worth noting. Without further ado, we got Will, Chief. We have STL Cards. We have Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, who's apparently the well-read Kevin Roth, quoting Mark Twain today in his weather report. Let's go ahead and bring on crunch time. What is up, Roth? Happy Friday. How are things?
Things are good. It is oft attributed to Mark Twain, but he actually never said that.
Oh, who did say it?
Nobody
Samuel
really
Clemens?
knows. It's just like a saying over there. Nobody knows who was the first person to say it, but it wasn't Mark Twain.
The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that's a Mark Twain quote, but it is not.
Yeah, even Google lied to me. He said that's the first thing that came up because I'm like, I think that was Twain, and I confirmed it, and I guess I didn't confirm it because I just read the headline. Did not keep
but
reading.
anyways, it's true. It's very cold in the middle of summer in San Francisco, and that is common, which is so weird.
Hold on a second. The chat's saying Freddie Fermin. No, it's Freddie Freeman that was scratched, right? I just want to go ahead and double check. Steve is saying Jerry Garcia wrote that. They're from Grateful Dead. They are from San Fran, I think. It's not really in my wheelhouse, but I guess go ahead and do your own Google search on that. Will, Cards, what's up? Cards, did you have any rants on Kyle Hendricks? Was I needling you a little bit with mentioning Hendricks against St. Louis? It's bizarre how good he's getting against your Cardinals.
No, it's just facts. So no, they did the Cardinals play the Cubs next week, and it's a 4-game series, and the only pitcher that the Cardinals are scheduled not to face is Kyle Hendricks, which would suck for most other teams, but it's probably good news for them. So I don't know. I picked the Royals over on Scores and Odds tonight because it's a team other than the Cardinals facing Kyle Hendricks. And so I'm rooting for the Royals, I guess.
I got some Kansas City shares as well. All right. Squirrel, Chop, anything else before we step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time? We are good. All right. I had to take a peek and see some heads nodding. All right. Plenty of time for crunch time, taking you guys all the way up the lock. You got Will, you have Cards, you have Roth, myself, Squirrel, Chop. I do appreciate y'all watching the first portion. Do hit the like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Have a good rest of your night. A good weekend. Roth, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it. Good stuff, as always, from Dino and the gang. Welcome, ladies and gents. You know the drill. Crunch time. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Hanging out with us, we got Justin Van Zuiden, a.k.a. STL Cards, in the house. Cards, how you feeling?
Yeah, feeling okay. I'm about like 2/3 of the way through the Friday evening yard work, so I'm still cooling off a little bit. If my face is a little bit red, I promise I'm fine. Just been out and about. It's a nice day here in the Midwest, so taking advantage of that, and hopefully we got a nice, it does appear to be anyway, a nice slate of baseball games as well.
We do. No weather concerns anywhere, which is lovely. We're, I think, about 2 months away from the end of the season now, Cars. Does that sound about right to you? Until the end of the regular season?
Yeah, end of September, first week of October, I believe. So hard to believe that is, not. Everyone kind of assumes that the All-Star break is halfway through the season, which would be 81 games. But most teams here this weekend are pushing 100 games played and about 60 to go. So it's a little closer to the end than you might think. And trade deadline on Tuesday. We've seen some trades already here within the last 24 hours. Lots of teams in the playoff race. So the next couple days will be a little bit interesting to see who gets moved and who doesn't.
Yeah. Cards, one quick note from Showboat King, and I was thinking of saying this. He says, I highly recommend outsourcing your yard work. This is I recommend this as well, but you do you. If you so
in it, I enjoy it because I work a desk job, and I value trying to get some exercise. So basically, it forces me to be on my feet for a while and keep myself accountable for my fitness to some degree. So, and I don't hate it. Like, it's not that I look forward to it, but it's exercise. So
all right. We'll allow it. Taken back. We got the Chief in the house as well. He is muted. I don't think he knows that, so I'm giving him the heads up now. He knows. All right. He's like, I know. I'm nodding, giving the thumbs up. How you doing, Chief? You can thumbs up or thumbs down if there's an animal or child screaming.
No. I'm good. And my girls are here this weekend, which is fantastic. But they're downstairs watching. I don't know, some movie on Netflix, not Meteor Man, Ultraman. I don't know. It's something.
Okay.
But they're watching that. And so I'm happy to be here and I actually really like this slate. Not that I dislike a lot of slates, but this one just kind of fits maybe how I want to play a little bit more. Okay. And so hopefully we help the people make some money.
Okay, well, fits right into your groove. We got to get our groove going here. I should note, Chief, for the first time, maybe ever, my wife is going out of town this weekend and taking both kids, and I'm just alone. So I have all weekend. It's just me. I just can't freaking wait, man.
Do you have plans? Like, because here's what happens when everybody leaves and I'm at home. I go to bed at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
Yeah.
the most exciting thing would be like, oh man, I can go to bed at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. I'm most excited. I just want to watch movies. Like my wife doesn't watch movies. We don't have time. I'm gonna watch a shitload of movies this week.
I was
Yeah.
literally gonna say, hit me up if you need like a list of movies or shows to like
Yeah.
prioritize that have
So-
recently been out, and I'll help you out with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna
on
do
that
nothing and
note,
watch those.
I have a question for you, Roth.
Let's
What is
go.
your stance on weather-related movies in this day and age of Twisters being the most popular movie theater? Are you a fan of the overproduction of
Second
weather?
Most popular.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes,
I think the
right
Deadpool one. I'll watch them all cards, but generally I go into it kind of negatively, and I come out of it the same way. So,
So have you seen Twisters yet?
Of course, yeah, I saw it. I didn't love it. Everybody else does. Everybody seems to like it, but maybe I'm not the best person to ask.
So
about it.
we tried to figure this out. My wife and I have determined that we have not gone individually to the movie theater to see a movie since our oldest son was born. Before our oldest son was born, he's going to be a freshman in high school. So we haven't been to the movie theater in probably about 15 years, but we're going to go see Twisters, just her and I, tomorrow. So we'll see
I
how
think
it
you'll
goes.
enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it. The main actor in it is phenomenal. He's a blast. So okay, have a good time. We got to get into the slate here. We've been
Yes.
dilly-dallying for 10 minutes or so. But let's jump into it. By the way, whose comment was that gave me Dante's comment in the YouTube chat gave me quite the giggle there. But let's dive into what we're talking about, because weather is not a concern. The only really noteworthy thing that was mentioned in the last show is how cold it is in San Francisco. Coldest summer I ever spent. Coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. There we go. I got it. But let's walk through the slate. Cards, what are you doing here as you kind of look at what the game plan is and what our pitching options are?
All right. I'm You told me I couldn't get distracted, so I can answer to the accounting movies. There's so many of them.
There is a movie called The Accountant where Ben Affleck is an accountant who I think is also an assassin. Have you seen that?
I have not. That
You
sounds
gotta
very
watch that.
realistic, though. Yeah,
You might be him. I don't know. You got to watch that one. It's actually really good.
I haven't seen it. Anyway, maybe at the end of the show we can get sidetracked. But yeah, so I think there's probably two guys that are going to get the most attention. They'd be the two most expensive if you're on DraftKings, but it's not a huge premium. I mean, you can, if you want to pay up, it's not that difficult to do tonight. You've got Peralta and Kirby as probably the 1A and 1B. Convenient that they are, the most talented probably pitchers on the slate when you factor in that they're facing the Marlins and the White Sox respectively.
Nice.
Yeah. I think I like Kirby a little bit better. I mean, we know Kirby's actually picked up his strikeouts a bit this year. We know he doesn't walk anybody. The White Sox are at the bottom of the league in most of the offensive metrics. I can't see a scenario where the floor is low tonight. I mean, it would shock me if he was below like 16 DK points, 25 or 28 FanDuel points. That's a pretty good floor for him. So I think I like Kirby just a little bit more. Maybe Peralta gives you access to a higher ceiling, but I think they're clearly the top two, with maybe Sonny Gray entering the conversation as a potential third option. Obviously the Nationals are struggling a bit. They're probably going to trade some guys away. They got no hit yesterday, and then they had to travel to St. Louis. So, the Cardinals usually don't get too aggressive with Gray's pitch count, and he hasn't been quite as sharp over the last few starts. So he's definitely behind Peralta and Kirby for me, but I think he's okay. If our ownership is accurate, I don't think you're getting enough of an ownership discount on Gray to make it worthwhile. So I'll probably stick with the other two. I'm off with Kodai Senga until it's his first start of the year. It's not like he's cheap at 9K. He's facing the Braves. I know the Braves haven't been as good lately, but I just don't see a reason to pay 9K for Senga. I'm off of Zach Gallen as well. I'm pretty neutral on Grayson Rodriguez, but those are kind of your guys at the top tonight. If you're going a little bit cheaper, Framber Valdez will get a little bit of buzz, especially now that Freeman's not in the Dodgers lineup. I don't see the strikeout ceiling there. I would prefer Brady Singer against the Cubs in the mid-range. Mackenzie Gore is maybe GPP viable, but his walks have been a little iffy of late. I think if you're looking to go away from the aces, you just go down even further. Kyle Harrison again at home against the Rockies. I mean, we know the Rockies can't really hit. The game's in San Francisco, where Roth already mentioned the cool weather there. It's not a great park for offense, even under the best of circumstances. So Harrison, he's got a 5.5 strikeout prop. He's only 6.9K on DraftKings. He'd probably be my favorite. I think my favorite pairing would be Kirby and Harrison. Maybe Andrew Haney. I'm not on Thorpe. I know the logic with the White Sox striking out, or the Mariners striking out a lot against right-handed pitching, but his results haven't been super great. And I just don't want to play a pitcher from the White Sox. You know, the win probably isn't likely. He's got a bad bullpen behind him. So to me, it's Kirby and Harrison. Even more so on FanDuel, where Gray is the most expensive pitcher. Maybe Brady Singer in the mid-range with Haney and Harrison as my favorite cheaper guys. Probably sticking to those like 5 or 6.
Okay, good stuff. Well, let's bring in the Chief, and I want your thoughts on how you're running pitcher. Seems like there's legitimately a lot of options, so I'm intrigued which way you're going here.
Yeah. With the slate this big and so many good options, I kind of just grouped them into tiers today. So I said, okay, who do I want out of the 9K tier, the 8K tier, and then kind of the 7K to 6K tier. And I ended up with 10 pitchers, which is actually a lot for me usually on a slate. But I just felt like some of these combinations could be viable. Like, clearly Freddie Peralta and Kirby are like your top options, I think, at pitcher. I don't think there's, any debate about that. But then you've got these other guys. And so as I did a little bit of digging here after the morning grind last night, believe it or not, I feel like Yusei Kikuchi and Nestor Cortez are kind of in a similar situation where Boston's a good offense, Texas is a good offense. But both of these teams, in terms of strikeouts, and once again, we're just kind of hunting for upside here. Both of these teams, in terms of strikeouts, are way worse to left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. You look at this Texas lineup, the strikeouts do climb, and that includes Corey Seager, one of the better hitters at 28% on the season, where he's around probably, 12, 13, maybe no more than 15. Where is he at? Yeah, against righties, he's at 13%. Against lefties this season, he's at 28. Big disparity there, and it's pretty much all systems go against the Boston Red Sox, who, against right-handed pitching, Roth, if you look at this team, I mean, it's fairly low. I mean, O'Neal's going to strike out some, and like Rafael and Westbrook, but like some of these other guys, like Devers at 17 against righties, Wong at 20, but then you crank this thing to left-handed pitching, 24, 25, 21, 36, 33, 24, 30, and 23. Those are the K rates in this lineup for 7 of the 9 hitters or 8 of the 9 hitters. So the strikeouts really start to climb. So while I'm not a huge fan of Nestor Cortez or Kikuchi, I do like them as pitchers, but I'm saying like on a game-to-game basis, I do think there's some upside here tonight that might be unspoken because of the name value of these offenses. Brady Singer against the Cubs, I think is a good play also in the 8K range. So in the 8K range, I have Kikuchi, Cortez, and Singer. In the 9K range, I have Gallen, Kirby, and Peralta for what it's worth. And then I thought I was going to end up on some Brian Bayo, but I just felt like Harrison, Heaney, Thorpe, and Freeland were just comparable enough for me to at least trim some more fat. So that's kind of who I have in this 6K-ish range. Harrison, Heaney, Thorpe, Freeland. Heaney's just more of a recent form play. He's facing probably the worst offense out of the bunch, but he's actually been fairly good down the stretch here. And so what I'm hoping is that he just doesn't get shelled early, and if not, we could be looking at around 15 points for him. I don't think he gets to 20 here, but I think for the price, these guys are worth it. So those are my 10 pitchers that I'm playing. If I had to tab a favorite, it's probably going to be Cortez today, personally for tournaments, because of the strikeouts against Boston, with one of these 6K guys, being some form of a pair. for tournaments. And that's not saying, hey, I'm fading Kirby and Peralta. I'm not doing that. I'm playing plenty of Kirby Peralta. I'm just highlighting I do like these other guys.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. Let's flip it and talk about some of the stacks here. I'm looking at, it seems, is it Baltimore that has the highest implied run total here, Chief? Is that the chalk?
Yeah, I think Baltimore is going to be the chalk relative, and let me say that relative to the slate, just because, I think people understand that this is a really good spot for them. But because it's a large slate, we really don't have to worry about ownership too much. Now, we're getting a fair amount on like some of these Yankees, like Verdugo and Soto and Judge. But once again, that's a really cheap offense facing Bayo. But generally speaking, I do expect Baltimore to have some ownership. And I think the Royals also will be one of the higher owned offenses tonight. If you had to ask me my favorite, Roth, I do really like Arizona tonight as a semi-late night hammer. I kind of got on them last night, and that hasn't really changed. But I do think Kansas City and the Yankees, in terms of how the salary distribution goes, those are some of the higher ones, probably followed by Baltimore.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Cards, your thoughts here, stack-wise?
Yeah, obviously, I bet the Royals against Kyle Hendricks. I do like them a good bit. I like the Arizona call as well against Ortiz. Ortiz has been pitching okay for the Pirates in kind of a what was originally a spot starter role, but seems to have a more regular spot now, that at least as long as Bailey Falter remains out. So I think Arizona, and I like that call, and Kansas City are my favorite too. Obviously, I like Baltimore as well, but the ownership is probably going to fall pretty high on their lineup tonight. And if you want to stack the top tier bats, you gotta go a little bit cheaper at pitchers. So I'm fine with Baltimore, but we'll probably be underweight compared to the field. We've got Boston righties, I think, are okay. I prefer them as like a mini stack or one-off power because their overall numbers just aren't as great against left-handed pitching. And we've got a weird 9.5 total again tonight in Oakland and the Angels. Oakland is, certainly probably not as good as they've looked over the last, say, 3 weeks, but they've basically been the best offense in baseball lately, which is strange to say. But ever since they put Butler in the leadoff role, I mean, they've just been raking. You've got Fulmer, who has never really established much of anything consistently at the MLB level, going for the Angels tonight. So, I mean, until they cool down, I can't really argue against Oakland with a team total of around 5 runs too. So throw them in their hat in the mix as well.
Okay, let's go around the horn, talk position by position. We can start with some catcher talk, and Card, you get to lead us off there.
Yeah, certainly not a spectacular position tonight, but I don't mind, playing one on FanDuel if it works in your stacks. Adley Rutschman is probably going to be the most popular play simply because of how much ownership Baltimore is going to get. But again, I don't know if that's necessarily, the best use of a top tier salary. Like if you want to spend at catcher, I suppose it's fine. I just don't love spending $5,000 plus there. So I find myself going maybe a little bit cheaper. Gary Sanchez, we know he's still got power against lefties, hasn't been playing regularly, but hitting 5th for the Brewers tonight against a lefty. He's only 3,300 on DK. Austin Wells, as long as he's hitting cleanup for the Yankees, will get some attention. Danny Jansen's actually hitting cleanup for Toronto tonight as well against Haney. So I think most of my lineups tonight, this is a spot where I'm looking to go cheap.
Okay. Chief, your thoughts?
None extra. I think Card summed it up perfectly. That's pretty much what I would have talked about. So
okay,
good to push it ahead.
Let's go to first base then.
Yeah, so at first base, and I kind of talked about this last night, I do like Christian Walker quite a bit. Really like this Arizona offense tonight. So hopefully they come out and do what they're supposed to do and knock Ortiz around a good bit. I like Vinny P here against Hendricks, and I know he's going to be getting some ownership, but I mean, Hendricks has just been rough, man. At Vinny P, he's been hitting pretty well all season. You look at his numbers against right-handed pitching. I love low strikeouts and high ISOs, Roth. And so when I get a chance to get a good combination against a bad pitcher, I want to take advantage of that. Vinny P is getting a fair amount of ownership also, especially on DraftKings, around 10%. For a big slate, I do think that's That's a fair amount. Same thing with Ryan O'Hearn. I actually wasn't expecting O'Hearn to get as much ownership, but he's around the same thing. But I still think you need some shares here in this spot. And so a lot of the first base guys, while you could spend up, I do think the 4 and 3 and 4K range is pretty reasonable tonight. Same thing with Ben Rice. Same thing. I know Rhys Hoskins is buried down here at 7, but if you expect some of these righties to get to Rogers, I think Hoskins would be one. And I heard Squirrel talking about this in terms of possibly getting some Seattle exposure. I do like Thorpe tonight, but you can get Luke Raley here, who's got some pop as well at 4K. Facing Thorpe should be really good leverage on a big slate.
Okay, good stuff. Cards, your thoughts at first.
Yeah, agree with the general sentiment of, it's a spot where you probably will think about going cheap. Michael Busch as well doesn't carry a super high price tag. He's been taking better at bats as of late. Ben Rice, same thing. So that kind of 4K-ish range, I think will be pretty popular for a lot of people tonight. That said, you can go for a contrarian spend up as well. I mean, I never hate taking Pete Alonso as a one-off. 2-3% ownership. Charlie Morton, he can hang one. We know that Alonso can hit it a long way against anybody. So Alonso, JD Martinez playing on DK where he's over at first are certainly guys that I would look at as potential contrarian spend ups in GPPs. Christian Walker as well, with Arizona being one of my favorite stacks against Ortiz, even though he's a bit pricey. Again, those guys in the 5Ks are going to be a little bit overlooked tonight. If you're in that 4K range, that's where most of the ownership's going to go. Pasquantino against Hendricks, another good guy that I like a bit tonight.
All right, how about second?
All right, second base is a position that I think most people are probably going to want to save at as well. I promise we'll get to some spend up options. Those come at shortstop and in the outfield. Those are probably the spots where you're going to want to spend tonight. We've talked about you can save at catcher, you can save at first, you can certainly save at second because this position does not offer a whole lot in terms of spend ups. I just don't think prioritizing like a Marcus Semien or a Jose Altuve tonight, unless you're stacking those teams. Marte certainly, but probably only in stacks for those spend ups for me tonight. I think you're going to see most people go super cheap. I mean, Brandon Drury is 2,700 on DK hitting cleanup for the Angels, who also have an implied run total close to 5 runs. Gleyber Torres was really popular the other night and homered leading off the game against the Mets. He's still around the same price. So he'll be popular again. He's hitting 5th tonight. Jorge Polanco hitting 3rd for the Mariners. Again, even though their offense has been pretty weak this year. Chop mentioned the BVP play of the day as Adam Frazier at the end of the last show. I like the Royals. Fitzgerald's been hitting everything for the Giants this week. He's hitting 2nd tonight. So this is a position where there's just a whole lot of values, and that is where I think you probably need to go at 2nd tonight.
Okay, great. Chief, your thoughts at 2nd?
Yeah, love Adam Frazier, but mainly because he's leading off. If the BVP kicks in, I'm perfectly fine to roll with it. But he's just so cheap, man, in a really good spot for this offense. Same thing for Polanco against Thorpe. One guy that I want to highlight, and it's not that I think he's going to, he could light the world on fire, but I think with Baltimore, I think people are going to be geared more towards these lefties like Henderson, Rutschman, Santander, O'Hearn. Jordan Westberg still sitting here with a 19% K rate and a 218 ISO 360 WOBA. I think he's got as good of a shot as anyone here driving some runs. It's not like Mazer is that much better to righties. So I wanted to mention him. He's closer to the top of the board here in terms of price at 4,800, but I still think it's reasonable enough to get him in your stacks. When I'm looking over the ownership, he's sitting here around 3% Roth with some of these other guys like Gunnar Henderson, I think was around 15, 16. That's a big gap. So I think he's a really good play there. And everything else I agreed with the card. So I'll just keep it pushing.
Okay. Take me to third base.
Yeah, third base, I think we've got some interesting options here. You can get Westberg at 3rd also. Just wanting to highlight that. I do like Alex Bregman today. I don't trust Stone here against Houston. I actually think Houston's a sneaky stack. I know they haven't really shown a whole lot of upside as consistently as we would like, but I think they could get the stone here. So wanted to highlight him. If you think Mackenzie Gore is broken and Cards, this is something myself and Keith talked about last night. I think his arm's tired or he's hurt. Because, I mean, his production is like falling off of a cliff. I mean, spring training, he looked good. Came into the season, things were going well. And then, like, this last month, it's just been – I mean, it looks like he's just trying to struggle to get to the finish line. So I did want to include Arenado in there. I think he's an interesting play if you think something is really going on with Mackenzie Gore. If you're into some of these cheap Royals here, I think Nick Lofton at 3K, he's not a good hitter, but I'm just talking about trying to get some of these cheap guys in your stacks. I think that's a valid play, and you can get Drury, as Cards already mentioned, you can get him at third base. Also, in terms of the top, and I kind of skipped over the top, I'm just not as interested in the top of this third base pool today. Like Devers, I think he's at a disadvantage. He's striking out a ton. Riley facing Senga. Manny Machado is facing, Rodriguez. Like I just think these top end options are in a much worse spot. So I'm trying to go further down the board today at third.
Great. Cards, I want your thoughts at third, but we did get a question back on second from Flying Armbar. Your thoughts on Norby on FanDuel? He's 2-2 over there.
He's cheap. Throw him in.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, especially because the position's so bad. He is hitting ninth, so it's, probably better in a stack, but it's not a position with a ton of opportunity cost, so I don't hate it. Like, that was, if you're playing him at shortstop, different story, but second base, it's fine. Okay, great. Your thoughts at third? All right, so I'm glad that Chief brought up Mackenzie Gore. So, and this is interesting. So Gore is facing the Cardinals, and obviously I am not one to usually go after the Cardinals offense. Just watching them struggle far too many times. But the point is valid here. If you look at Mackenzie Gore pitched against the Cardinals like 2 weeks ago, and the Nationals scored 9 runs in the first 2 innings. So it was 9-0 Nationals. The game was basically over, obviously, at that point. And you've got your ace on the mound, effectively, and Mackenzie Gore. And now the one thing that you don't do when you're staked to a 9-0 lead after 2 innings is walk guys.
I even know that, and I don't know anything about baseball.
Yeah, just don't walk guys, right? You're ahead 9-0. Make them hit the ball. If they hit 1 solo homer, 2 solo homers, so be it. Don't walk guys. It's my biggest pet peeve. You get a multi-run lead. You don't give them free base runners. Just throw strikes. Make them hit the ball. So after being staked to a 9-0 lead, Mackenzie Gore proceeded to walk 5 batters in 3 1/3 innings. And before you know it, it was 11-5 by the 4th inning, and he was out of the game. And I mean, that's not so you expect 9-0 with your ace on the mound. You've got the game in the bag, and you're not going to have to use the bullpen. And he just looked off. And since then, his next start, 4 2/3 innings, 3 walks in that start, 2 innings, 4 walks in that start. His July numbers are awful.
Yeah, and he seems like he's really struggling.
Yeah, so potentially being hurt, obviously, is something that is being speculated right now. I mean, he had if you just go by month, he had a 3.19 ERA in April, a 2.60 ERA in May, a 5.13 ERA in June, and a 7.47 ERA so far in July. So the trends are not good. Now, I don't know whether the Cardinals are the team that can take advantage of that. Arenado seems a little broken himself, but he did hit a home run off Paul Skeens the other night, which I suppose counts for something. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and bang the drum for them, but I don't think the Cardinals are a crazy multi-entry stack tonight, because I think there is some ceiling there if Gore's command issues continue.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that call. Matt Chapman, another guy, good splits against lefties. I agree on not spending top dollar here. Probably not getting to Devers or Riley myself tonight in their matchups. But Chapman, pretty reasonably priced. Otherwise, yeah, I kind of went on about Gore there for a few minutes, and in the interest of time, we can probably move along to short.
That's fair. Shortstop. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think you need to spend up here. I mean, we've talked about the ability to save at every other position on the board tonight. You know the drill at this point. There's always 4 or 5 elite shortstops every night. One of these guys is going to have a big night. Bobby Witt is facing Kyle Hendricks. Gunnar Henderson is facing Mazur for the Padres, who's probably been like the worst pitcher in baseball this year, maybe along with Hendricks. Like, I think it's pretty clearly Witt and Henderson at the top tonight. Rank them however you want. One of those two guys. I would put, Seager, lefty is probably a notch below, but facing a guy that's homer prone, I don't hate that. Willie Adames against a weak lefty tonight, I think is fine as well. But if you're only building one lineup, or if you're playing cash games tonight, I don't see how you don't play one of Bobby Witt or Gunnar Henderson.
Okay, Chief, is this a spot where you can get different, where you let everyone else play one of those two dudes and play someone different and play the ownership game?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think you want to. I think you want to get some Witt, some Henderson. I'm gonna throw Lindor in there against Morton. Charlie Morton, man, great real life pitcher, but I mean, he's got the ability to give up a few here. And Lindor's been really good in his own right here recently. I definitely think those are your top three. Love the call on Adames. While I'm not stacking Milwaukee a ton tonight, I am getting to some of these righties. Like one or two of these guys, I think is going to send one out of the park card. So I love the call on Adames. He's definitely someone I want to talk about. Mason Wynn leading off as they've essentially moved him from the bottom of the order to the top of the order. Maybe about what cards? About 2 weeks now, maybe I think Wynn or something like that. It's been leading off week and a half, whatever it is. I think
it's been a little longer than that. He's been there for a while.
Yeah. I think he's definitely in play against Gore. If you go down to the bottom here, and this is where it gets interesting to me, because I know he's at the bottom, but I'm not sure if Kiki Hernandez comes out of this game tonight. With Freddie not playing, they've already got some injuries there. I think Kiki might get his fair share of at bats. I like him a little bit tonight against Valdez at 2,900. Just wanted to throw him out there as an interesting one-off play that could possibly send one out of the park.
Okay, good stuff. Take me to the outfield, Chief.
Outfield, I mean, man, there's so many options. Like Soto and Judge are going to get tons of ownership. And I just like playing Juan Soto anyway because of, the many ways that he's able to score fantasy points. I love Yordan Alvarez. Once again, I'm not a big believer in Stone here. So Alvarez is definitely a guy that's going to get some ownership for me. Anthony Santander was one of my home run calls on last night's morning grind. So he's definitely going to make the cut. I love Corbin Carroll. I love Jock Peterson at 4,600. I am okay with, a George Springer, even though I like Heaney today. I'm okay with him, a guy that's leading up. I'm okay with Lourdes Gurriel. As we get down to the bottom here, I see we've got Butler with, just tags for days. Like he's got everybody's dot. Hopefully he doesn't fail us tonight, but I think at 3,900, he's been so good. Even if you're not stacking Oakland, I think he's a really good one-off play. He is going to garner some ownership, though, as a result of it. I think you could easily, if you do like Oakland, you could easily, plug in some J.J. Bleday, who's going to get, roughly half the ownership of Butler. And so I just think trying to get different in the outfield here a little bit, especially where Verdugo is soaking up a ton of ownership against Bayo because of the leadoff tag tonight. I like the Yankees. Adam Frazier, I think, is in the same situation and not getting as much ownership. So, we've got Verdugo at 10 and Adam Frazier is coming in at 6. And I know you can play him at second base or the outfield. But I want to kind of highlight the slight ownership disparity between those two that are pretty much in the same exact spot today, in my opinion, in terms of leading off cheap, good spot. And so I would side with Frazier over Verdugo if I were you.
Okay, very good. Cards, your thoughts in the outfield?
Yeah, I like those calls as well. I think, those Yankees guys probably aren't going to get steamed up a ton. People have respect for Bayo, I think, but when you factor in the salaries, like we've got Judge at 13 and Soto at 13 and Verdugo at 12. So in terms of percentage ownership, that's relatively modest. Things are going to be spread out a bit tonight. But I mentioned on the other side of that game, I do like the righties for the Red Sox, even though they haven't been great against lefties. Tyler O'Neill back to taking better at bats, hit 2 homers the other day. That was at Coors, obviously, but don't mind picking on Cortez with a good right-handed power bat. Boston's projected for around 4.6 runs. So I like the outfielders in that game. You'll get some attention on like the cheaper Orioles guys, even though he's hitting 8th, Kauser and Kierstad at the 6th spot. I certainly think those guys are fine. Hunter Renfroe as a one-off for Kansas City. Prefer him against lefties, but since Kyle Hendricks doesn't blow anybody away with like a big-time fastball or anything like that, I certainly wouldn't have a problem with Renfroe, even as a one-off, if you're not stacking the Royals tonight. Obviously, Butler, who Chief mentioned, you can stack Oakland. Brent Rooker has been one of the best hitters in the league. As part of that Oakland offense getting hot, we'll be interested to see if he gets moved in the next couple days. A little bit of sticker shock with him right now, but he's certainly in the cleanup spot for Oakland. Homered last night, continues to be a fine high-end play that oftentimes goes overlooked because we just keep waiting for Oakland to kind of fall off a bit. But and I didn't really mention many of them individually, but I kind of agree with Chief on the Houston call tonight. I'm not a big Gavin Stone guy either. And, any night you can get Jordan at 4 or 5%, I think he certainly makes for an interesting tournament play. So kind of on the Houston or as a super contrarian stack as well. Don't mind that bandwagon myself tonight.
Okay, good stuff, guys. The people want some home run picks, so start thinking about that. In the meantime, Spidey Bombs are down below. Santander, Vladdy, and Hap are the 3 Spidey Bombs. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe to the content. And if you haven't signed up for Roto Grinders Premium already, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? That's a foolish mistake. There's never been a better time to sign up for RG. We've got an option for whatever level you're looking for. 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price, $469.99. That's a savings of $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months. You can get your first month of RG Premium $40 off for a limited time, or you can test and dip your toes in the water. 3-day pass is $19.99. I will spend more than that just on movies at my own house this weekend with my wife out of town. But you could have 3 days of RG for $19.99. That is fantastic. Now on to some home run calls. Chief, you get to go first. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I realized I was muted, so I wasn't just going to start flapping my gums here.
Well done.
I do think I think we get multiple from this Baltimore game, and Santander was definitely one. If I had to take another one right now, I'm actually going to take Ryan Westberg. I know I talked about it already, but I do like him today. Like I said, really nice ISO, really nice WOBA, and not as far behind these other guys as you would think. So he's definitely on the list. I'm going to throw Jordan in there against Stone. I know Stone is not giving up a whole lot of power to lefties, but he did last season. And if you look at the past 30 days, they're starting to climb up there also versus his season numbers. He's sitting around 209 for the last 30 days, which is getting a lot closer to his last season's numbers. So I'm going to throw Jordan in the bunch there. And I'm going to take a shot on something here. I'm going out. I'm going to side with STL's cards. I'm going to go Wilson Contreras. I think Gore's broken here. I think Contreras has a big shot. And then let's go one for a bonus here, Rob. Out in Arizona, which is my favorite stack of the night. Jock Peterson's been hot. I do like Christian Walker, but I'm going to go with Jock Peterson here against Luis Ortiz.
Okay, a little jock jams going on. Cards, you got a few names for me? Maybe someone from the Cardinals? Maybe.
Let's not get carried away.
That's fair.
I will go. So it kind of surprised me to see Gunnar Henderson at about plus 475. I was shocked to get that good odds on him tonight. So we'll go with Gunnar as the high end play. My mid-range play is going to be Vinny Pasquantino at plus 600. Got to take somebody against Kyle Hendricks. And let's see. I haven't had a low end guy that's kind of super popped for me, but so we'll throw. I like the Diamondbacks as well, so I'll just double down on Chiefs take and go with Christian Walker. I can't find a punt that I like too much here.
Well, that works for me, guys. We've got about 5 minutes until lock. The people have some questions. They've hit the thumbs up. They've watched the show, and now they have specific questions. And we will start with Anthony, who says, Cards, I'm super late. Who are the pitchers for today? You mentioned 2 guys kind of off the top, and then, some other tournament options. But Maybe even
Yeah, I
three
mean,
guys
I think
kind of at
if
the top.
it's double, if you're going double spend, I think it's undoubtedly Peralta and Kirby. Most builds, I think, will on DK at least will have one of those two guys, and probably a cheaper guy. I think the most logical build is Kirby or Peralta as your spend up, and then Harrison or Haney as your cheap guy. So some combination of those four. I think you could maybe throw Sonny Gray and maybe Brady Singer into the mid-tier mix for GPPs, but otherwise the four main ones that I mentioned there.
Sounds good. Chief, your favorite FanDuel single entry stack to win it all?
Give me the Diamondbacks. That's my late night hammer. Give me the Diamondbacks.
I like it. FanDuel cash question, Chief. Right back to you. O'Hearn or Jock?
O'Hearn or Jock Peterson, you're saying?
Yep.
Gonna be O'Hearn for me and Cat. Even though I love my the Diamondbacks.
Okay. Cards, Luke Cage says DK GPP, Vladdy G or Vinny P?
Give me Vinny tonight.
Cards, back to you. DK Cash at third, Kike or Drury?
Oof. Chief brought up a good point earlier about Kike probably not getting pinch hit for tonight because of the weird way the Dodgers have constructed their lineup. But with a game total of 9.5 and the price tag and hitting cleanup, I've got to go Drury tonight.
Okay, one more in the Discord, then I'm jumping into the YouTube. FanDuel Cash, Chief, the Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh and Ward, or Drury and Rush Dog?
Cash, right?
I think, yes, FanDuel
Gonna
Cash.
definitely gonna be Drury and Rutschman.
Okay, great. Jumping into the YouTube, make sure you hit us with that thumbs up here. Devin says, Cards, DK single entry, 5-3 Royal Seattle with Kirby Peralta. Is it too chalky? Because do I just need to, he's saying essentially with it being 12 games, can't I just play whoever you want?
Yeah, I don't think there's an overwhelming amount of chalk tonight. Look, I don't love Seattle, full disclosure, but they're not going to be mega chalky. So,
okay, fair enough. Unreleased Lo-Fi Music says, Cards, is the Big Dumpa viable on FanDuel 2,900?
Yeah, I still don't love Seattle. Certainly he's fine, like the lefty power against Thorpe. And I mentioned earlier, and somebody did kind of ask about it in YouTube chat. I mentioned Thorpe's numbers not being good, and he raised a valid point. Thorpe's surface numbers are solid, but his xFIP and Sierra are both in the 5s. Like he's gotten lucky, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So still don't love Seattle. I think they're fine. Raleigh wouldn't be my first choice, but certainly some power potential, and won't be super popular on FanDuel because you don't need a catcher. So I don't hate it.
Okay, fair enough. Chief, we've got about a minute until lock. Make sure you get those lineups in. Diego in the YouTube says, hey, Blade or Miguel Andujar? Thank you.
Blade.
Riley says, KC or Baltimore stack on FanDuel? I'm leaning KC. Chief, where are you leaning?
I think either, if I had to pick right now, God, it's so close. Give me Baltimore. I think they're a little bit more expensive, just a touch.
Okay. We Major says, Cards, favorite pitcher in a FanDuel single entry. You only get one. Where are you going there if you're trying to win a tournament?
Let's see. I just pulled up our FanDuel.
And so it is single entry, so it's not like he's trying to win.
We've got Kirby at like 16% over there. Like, I'd probably still go with Kirby. That's probably my answer.
Okay, that seems fair. Andrew, and this will be our last question here as we've come up against the lock. Andrew says, Cards, would you be fine playing the Dodgers as a full stack in a GPP?
Not tonight. I just don't love the bottom half of that lineup. Framber's been good enough to where I just don't see him getting blown up. You've got a weaker lineup there tonight with no Freeman. Ohtani and Teoscar are obviously, and Will Smith are expensive. Probably not on a large slate tonight.
Okay. Full disclosure, I played. This is maybe the third time all season I've played because I have a rule, Cards. If I can play two pitchers and not be a total jackass, I'm going to do it. If I can play 2 cheap pitchers and not be an idiot. Harrison and Thorpe at SP with a full Baltimore stack and a Yankees mini stack, including Soto. What do you
For
think?
all the marbles.
For all the marbles, what do you think? Is it crazy?
No, that's not crazy for sure. Play whoever you want.
All the play whoever you want. Just winning it all here. Yeah, I'm going to kick off my weekend solo here with a nice tournament win tonight. But we are going to bounce on out of here. So for Chief and for Cars and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.